Happy Wednesday, everybody. This is Mayor Mike, and I'm at 740 Main Street, which is affectionately known as East Hartford Town Hall. And today I'm tackling the questions that came in under the Ask the Mayor program from the last 2 weeks. We took last week off, and I hope everybody had a great Labor Day. And as we head toward fall, you should know that we have questions 126 through 134 since the inception of the Ask the Mayor program, and we'll answer those today. The first question comes from Crystal, and she said it's actually 3 questions. When will funding be distributed to school systems in order for needed air conditioning systems in our local schools? So, Crystal, the answer to that is, under the American Rescue Plan Act, $24 million was passed directly to the East Hartford school systems. Ben Whitaker is their chief operating officer. I've spoken to Ben, and throughout the summer, and I imagine due to the supply chain issues, it's not all completely done, but I'll try to get an update for a future Ask the Mayor. But every single classroom, with the exception of, I believe, 2 at the high school, will be air conditioned when all the work is finally completed. So in answer to your question, the Board of Education has the funding, and they are working on adding air conditioning to all classrooms. And again, but for 2 at the high school, we should all be set. Question number 2, are park development a priority in East Hartford? And the answer to that is yes. Earlier this year, I took a tour, and if you are a frequent viewer of Ask the Mayor, you saw a guest, Salima Davis, who comes to us from New York City, and Salima had done some additional park renovation there. So she's helping East Hartford prioritize some of our issues. We have 19 parks here in town. Some of those are simply walking trails. So when you get down to it, we have 14 parks. Some of them are in need of much needed, we'll call it accoutrements, and others are in pretty good shape. But in any case, we walked all 14 parks, and we have a priority list of what we're doing. In the current budget for fiscal year 22-23, we've put aside $1.75 million. $750,000 came from the East Hartford Town Council. $1 million came from the state delegation, compliments of Governor Lamont. And there will be things going in and around town from repaving of basketball courts, which you'll be seeing second week in September. Not every basketball court, but many basketball courts. You'll see some dugout improvements and fencing improvements at some of the baseball fields. Not all baseball fields, not in all 14 parks, but in some, for example, at Gorman. You'll also see foosball courts. Actually, it's called futsal, and that's basically soccer that takes place in an old abandoned tennis court. So, for example, on Martin Park, where the skateboard park is, we're going to pull that out. You're going to see a futsal court go in there. So the answer is $1.7 million will be going into parks between 22 and 23. And that too has some constraints. Inflation is eating away at our ability to get more than we originally thought done. So we're getting actually a little bit less done. But we are doing some things across town. And you'll notice that our pool houses will have one side painted with a mural. So one, we're trying to, all the facilities are very well maintained, but we're also trying to upgrade them. So for example, in Martin Park, there's a new playscape, but now there'll be a new futsal court. And in Gorman, you'll see some new dugouts and you'll see some new fencing. And in most of the town parks, or at least those that need work, you'll see repaving of the basketball courts. So that's the story as to what the $1.7 million is doing. And that's in addition to our 5 outdoor pools, which recently closed. But we've got a great park system. It is a priority. We know we have to invest more in it. And then later on this year, we'll be coming out in advance of the budget with a prioritized list of things we'd like to fund. But it's all a balance between what we can afford and ultimately what we can maintain. But in answer to the question, yes, they are a priority. We're doing as best we can. And then the last question, will additional programs for children be added to parks and rec activities and sports programs? And I would tell you that that is an ever-changing roster of things we like to do. There are a number of programs that we are really good at and the residents receive, and then there are others that we try and ultimately they don't catch on. But if you want to speak to somebody directly, Ted Fravel is our Director of Parks and Recreation. His number you can find, or his email is on the website. Give him a call, drop him a line, tell us what you'd like to see, and if at all possible, we will accommodate it. But generally speaking, there is an ever-changing roster of Parks and Rec programs. So if you watch their website and you look for their quarterly or seasonal brochures, you'll understand what's out there. So hopefully, Crystal, I've thoroughly answered that question. Question number 127 comes from Larry. His only form of transportation is on his bicycle, and it's super dangerous to ride on Main Street. There should be a bike lane on Main Street. Far too dangerous the way it is now. Please help. And I agree, Larry. I don't ride a bike on Main Street. I ride a bike occasionally. That being said, it's a long planning process. We do know that the town of East Hartford, in particular Main Street, needs to get a little bit friendlier. If you look at specifically the downtown area, we call it bridge to bridge. It is not a particularly inviting or safe way to get in and around Main Street. We have noted that to the Department of Transportation because it is a state road. And we're going to do some short-term things. And I think that may be relining or repainting. But long-term things like adding bike lanes are in the offering. When I say long-term, we're probably talking, Larry, 3 to 5 years. So don't give up on us. Be patient with us. And we will start to move in the direction of a more user-friendly downtown, one with the help of the State Department of Transportation because it's a state road, and with the push of our legislative delegation. And as in all things, it requires planning, and that's underway right now. So hopefully, Larry, I've answered that question. Question number 129 comes from Raymond. He says, many thanks for providing this service. Why aren't there sidewalks on Upper Silver Lane near the Manchester border? And that was a good question, Raymond, and I put it to our development director, Eileen Buckheit, and she simply explained that there's never been any plans. So that doesn't mean we can't have plans, that just means there currently aren't plans for those. So as we prepare the upcoming budget, we'll try to prioritize. I think fixing some of the sidewalks that we do have in town. We have, I believe it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 250 miles of sidewalks. We have 151 miles of road, and we have sidewalks on both sides of the road. So that's where I think the number 250 comes from. There's about 1 mile of that are in deplorable shape, about 7 miles that are in really, actually needs a lot of work. And then the rest, there's probably another 25 or 30 miles that need work in the next 5 to 10 years. That being said, we want to take care of those as a priority first, but that doesn't mean as a project we can't put on our 5-year capital improvement plan the need for sidewalks up in that neck of the woods in terms of Upper Silver Lane. Submission number 130 comes from Nyilka, if I've pronounced that right. If I haven't, I apologize. Is there any East Hartford residents place where they can get specific references to management with respect to rental properties that do not care about their tenants or maintenance repair requests? We are not living in healthy environments. So I would say to Nyilka, we have a new apartment inspection program that is being handled out of Inspections and Permits. You can call Bruce Cohen, who's the director of the division, at 860-291-7342. Or you can email him at bcohen, C-O-H-E-N, at easthartfordct.gov. If you tell him the location of the rental, the problems with it, we'll get an inspection out there. Again, the town council recently passed within the last couple of years an ordinance where we now have an apartment inspection division. We'll be proactively pushing that out in the month of October, so you can stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, by all means, reach out to Bruce, give him the information, and we'll get right on that. Submission number 131 comes from Michelle. And I won't read the whole thing, but basically she had not a good interaction with our central registration, and she came away disappointed. So she wanted to know, what is the mayor's plan to improve the education system and to hire local talent in education who would care more about the community. So first off, I want to say, and this is not me passing the buck, this is the statutory constraints that I work under. While the mayor is the chief elected officer of the town of East Hartford and is put here by the voters, I do not control education. That, by Connecticut general statutes, is a separate statutory requirement that is handled by the Board of Education. We have 9 members that are elected, 6 are Democrat, 3 are Republican. They then hire the superintendent of schools, who's responsible for administering the education plan. So if you have any questions on education, Tyron Harris is the chairman of the Board of Education. Please reach out to him either here at the town of East Hartford or through the Board of Education. Tyron is an East Hartford resident, he's an elected official, and he will, I assure you, handle some of these issues. With respect to my expectations of the school system, I absolutely understand that we are in the bottom 30% of school systems in the state of Connecticut. And candidly, that's unacceptable. We need to do better. Now, I want to single out the teachers in the administration of the school system because I do believe they're doing exceptional work with what they have. Now, I want to give you, Michelle, a couple of statistics just to walk away from. In your narrative, you had said that you pay very high taxes. Now, I know that's a bit of a generalized statement, and I just want to pin it down that of 169 towns, East Hartford is 117th on the list. We are actually 14% below other towns with significantly richer services that we deliver, like full-time firefighting and paramedic service in the event you had a medical emergency. So again, 117 out of 169. But focusing on your question on the school system, education is 165. What we spend to educate each pupil is 165 on the list of 169 towns. Excuse me. Only 3 towns spend less. Now, I'm not sitting here advocating to spend more. I do believe there is a correlation between the amount you spend and the amount of exceptional education you can give. Apologies for that. So what I'm saying is, for the money that we pay, the teachers in the administration are doing an exceptional job. If we were able to add more money to the school system, class sizes theoretically would get smaller, individual pupils would have a little bit more attention, maybe they'd have more supports in the form of tutors and aides that would be able to help. So in the long run, investing a little bit more in our educational system should produce better results, but I am not in any way criticizing what we do. I'm saying we're doing the best we can with the money that we have. So again, just to rephrase the issue, I have higher expectations for our school system than where we are now. I think everyone else should. I do believe the school superintendent, the school board, and the administration and teachers are doing excellent work with the money that they have, and I would like to see additional money sent to the board moving forward. But again, that needs to be balanced with the tax load that we have. Certainly understand that everybody out there is under stress, not only before inflation, but after the recent bout of inflation. So Michelle, hopefully I've answered your question. I will have this same discussion with the superintendent, explain to him what your situation was, and candidly, we need to do better. Edwin, question number 132. He wants to bring to my attention that they had an open house at O'Brien, noticed that the classrooms were very warm and humid, and there were not adequate conditions for his children, in his opinion, which I agree with. Understand the staff is working hard. It's going to take some time. If I could give it a push, that would be great. Again, going back to the schools are in possession of $24 million of American Rescue Plan Act money. A lot of that will go toward addressing air conditioning in schools. I'm going to presume O'Brien is one of them that is scheduled, but either one, it wasn't on in this particular day, that's why it was hot, or two, we haven't fully installed it yet. But again, I'll take that up with the superintendent. Help is on the way. and I hope this is simply nothing more than either the air conditioning was off or we're not ready to flip the switch yet, simply due to supply chain issues. Submission number 133 comes from Nancy. It's a fairly straightforward question. She has a park by her, and there are no trespassing signs. It's called Yeaner Park on off Rolling Meadow Drive. And I need to check on that, Nancy. And the reason I need to check on that is because I recall that this was given to us by the Yeaners, and there was a condition that if the town didn't use it after so many years, it reverted to Hartford Hospital. So it may very well indeed be a park, but not owned by the town. So that's something I will check into, and at a future Ask the Mayor, I will update you on that once I find out the background as to why there are no trespassing signs there. And question number 134 comes from Tina. Her daughter, is very excited about the work being done at the Wickham Library, especially making it more accessible since this prevented us from using it in the past. Is there an estimated date for its completion and reopening? So literally this week, it will be substantially complete based on the construction. That doesn't mean we're ready to go in. I've worked with Sarah Morgan from the library. This will be a satellite library off of, again, at Wickham, off of both School Street and Burnside Avenue. October 7th, I'm told, is when the furniture will be delivered. So we're looking at a soft opening probably about a month from now. Let's call it October 15th. And as more things unfold with that, check with social media, keep an eye on social media. We'll be broadcasting when there'll be an official ribbon cutting. But we're probably about a month, maybe a little less, maybe a little bit longer, from when we reopen those doors at Wickham Library. So it's Wednesday. I'm Mayor Mike. This is Ask the Mayor. Keep your questions coming. And now that fall is in the air, looking forward to the marathon coming up and to Fall Fest. So until I can see you then, have a great week.